Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. I have Derrick J coming in from Keene, New Hampshire, and I actually ran into or watched his recent, it actually was done over a year ago, but for some reason I'd heard about it but never watched it, but I just recently watched it. It's called Derrick J's Victimless Crime Spree, and it was awesome. It was really well done, and I really enjoyed it, so I immediately had to contact Derrick and get him on Anarchast. But before we get into that and many other things, he has a lot he wants to talk about. He's a radio show host. He's on Peace News, I believe it's called, and other radio shows as well. So he's a talker, so we're not going to be a lot of dead airspace on this one. But before we get into that, let's check his street credentials, even though I already know he has them through seeing his video. Derrick, how did you become an anarchist?
I became an anarchist through logic and reason and basic observations of the world around me. I was living in Philadelphia in around 2008, 2009, working for Greenpeace, and I wasn't satisfied with their solutions. You know, I cared a lot about the environment, but I didn't see it working, and so I switched over to civil rights issues. Started working as a fundraiser for the American Civil Liberties Union. I really enjoyed that, but again, wasn't satisfied. They just weren't producing results. And I was seeing Guantanamo Bay continue to stay open, and I was like, this was, promised to be closed. What's going on, right? And so I had to really sit down. I quit both my jobs and just studied what the hell is going on in the world. And through YouTube, I discovered Stefan Molyneux and Alex Jones, and that got me partly the way there. I read some Ayn Rand, and then I was pretty much finished at that point. I moved up to New Hampshire as part of something called the Free State Project in 2011. It was just over. By then, I was like, okay, I can live among a community of people who all agree that life can be based on consent and voluntary interactions. I'm for that. I want that. And I haven't looked back since. It's been great.
Yeah, that is great. And that's how you're, I don't know if you call it movie or documentary. I guess it'd be, what do you call it, movie?
It's a documentary.
Documentary, okay. Yeah, your documentary starts off with you actually moving to the Free State, and then you went through all sorts of activist things. You ended up in jail numerous times for long periods of time. Why don't you just sort of briefly touch on those experiences?
Yeah, so during a 6-month period after moving to New Hampshire, I was surprised by a string of victimless crimes, and I call it my victimless crime spree. The first was totally by accident. I was video recording inside of a courthouse lobby, and one of the bailiffs said, "You're not allowed to film here." I was like, "What? Are you kidding?" And he arrested me just like within the span of a few seconds. We didn't have any opportunity for dialogue. That charge was later dropped, and so I learned like, oh, this is interesting. You can be charged with crimes, and then they release you. It's sort of a catch and release thing. It's an intimidation factor, really. They're saying, I want you to obey, and I don't have the words or the good reasons for that, so I'm going to use force to get you to comply. And so once I learned that, I was like, ooh, let's experiment. Let's see what they'll do. If I'm if I paint myself in a position of like, you should never attack this guy, you should never go after this guy, but then they do, they have to, because if you don't respect their authority, everything falls apart. They need you to comply with that. They need you to respect that and bow down and just go along. And if you don't go along, it doesn't matter how small it is. They will use threats of violent force and almost bring me to the brink of death for things like avoiding them on a bicycle. So just to run through my charges real quick: disorderly conduct, obstructing government administration, 3 charges of resisting arrest, failure to process.
I love the 3 charges of resisting arrest. Were those actually attached to arrests? Or I love it when they just charge you with resisting arrest. It's like, well, what am I being arrested for? For resisting.
Yeah, right. No, none of them were resisting alone. The first was for running from sheriffs, then biking away from police, and also for verbally refusing to assist in my own kidnapping. That was the most interesting one. Then I was also arrested for possession of cannabis, 2 counts of contempt of court, criminal trespass for video recording on the court sidewalk, and finally, the worst crime above all else, disobeying an officer. Oof, you should never, ever disobey an officer. They're always right.
Oh, yes, we've seen it all the time on the internet. They're just constantly right,
Yeah.
Now, you got a great attitude about it, and that's one of the great things about your documentary was just, you're constantly getting roughed up, beat up, kidnapped, and you're just always smiling, kind of laughing about it, and it's great. And I really like too as well, and I didn't know this, I'm not a big activist myself. I kind of am in a way, in my own sort of way, like here in Mexico, I
consider you an activist.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even know what the word means, but I haven't gone to jail a lot, on purpose or anything, if that's what the word means.
Well, you're active and you help advance freedom. I mean,
okay.
What else is there?
Yeah, I'm active. I'm moving around. But my point was, though, that I didn't realize all that was involved in what a lot of people like yourself and others up there, especially in New Hampshire, have been doing. It's just amazing to see what you go through, and then also to see, and this is one thing that I wanted to bring up, was how all these internet, I'm getting a little tired of these internet kids. These, I don't know how old they are, you can never tell, they always use fake names. They're probably 9-year-old kids or 12-year-old kids in their mom's basement, and they'll say things like about Adam Kokesh, they'll go, oh, he took a plea, he's such a punk. It's like, talk a little bit about that, how when you watch your documentary, you understand why people take pleas.
Yeah. I had the good fortune of living with Adam for a little while before he was arrested, and we got to talk about that because, he had seen my Victimless Crime Spree. He was there in one of the scenes when I was arrested, video recording. And it was troubling for me to take a plea deal. And for those who aren't familiar, let me just recap. In court, if you're arrested or charged with a crime, you will be offered a deal by the prosecutor, and this is supposed to be attractive to you, that they would punish you with like a year in jail and $1,000 fine for something like video recording. And then instead of facing that with a trial and a jury and all the court and motions, hiring a lawyer, they say, Jeff, wouldn't this be easier if you just give us $500 and we'll just make this go away? And you say, all right, well, yeah, actually, that does sound pretty nice. I don't have to come back here. I've been waiting for a few hours. I was just afraid I was going to land in jail for a year. $500 doesn't sound bad to buy my freedom. So a lot of people end up taking a plea deal because they're literally coerced into doing it. The judge will ask you, were you coerced into making this decision? And most people will say, no, I wasn't. But literally you were. Though a gun wasn't pointed at your head, threats of imprisonment, loss of your liberty and your property, that's coercion. So people do take these plea deals, but recognize that they're doing it to mitigate harm to themselves. A bully is coming up to you and saying, all right, I can kick you in the nuts or I can kick you in the shin. What's it going to be? Yeah,
well, you were faced with, I think, 15 years if you went forward, possibly. You just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen because there's nothing about justice related in those courts, right?
Well, yeah, not only that, I think it's easier to be, in the audience. But when you're on the field and you have to think about, what's my strategy going to be? So with the first arrest, okay, I've got that. I can take this on. I was ready, but then they dropped the charge. The second arrest, I wasn't ready for, started getting prepared, but then I was surprised arrested for trespassing. So now I've got too many charges to sort of fight at one time, meaning I could take these on in court, and I don't mind doing some jail time. But how can I prepare for my next trial from jail? That's not a good position to be in. So I needed to think strategy, and plea deal was the way to go.
Okay, what do you want to talk about now then?
I want to ask you questions.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of music do you listen to?
So you're going to interview me now? What kind of music do I listen to? Well, I have to say that over the last couple of years, I've been so into what I'm doing that I haven't really been listening to a lot of music, and I feel really weird about it. What I listen to for the most part when I do is a lot of just sort of electronic music, because I put it in the background while I'm writing, because there's not a lot of words, so it doesn't get me all confused while I'm writing. But if I do listen to music, it's mostly anarchist style music. I'm so into what I'm doing right now. I'm just so passionate about what I'm doing. So things like Rob Hustle of This Is What Happens When You Call the Cops, I like that. And a lot of the rappers that are really anarchist style and, fuck the police and all that kind of stuff. I can't think of too many other. I haven't been listening to too much new music lately, so I don't really know. I just know that whatever I hear on the radio is garbage nowadays. I can't believe that most people even listen to a lot of that stuff.
I'll pretend I didn't hear that because I like Top 40. But I saw you singing Guantanamera. Tell me about that song.
Oh, I wish you didn't bring that up, and I hope no one looks it up. But well, I was in a...
You could always cut that, but I love the song. I think I learned it from Pete Seeger. I saw a video of Pete Seeger singing Guantanamera, and it reminds me, I'll just share why I like it. It reminds me of a utopia, like anarchic society, libertarian paradise of the future that I would hope to see.
Yeah, it was sort of funny for me because what happened was I always knew that song. I think everyone's sort of heard that song at one time in their life, yeah. Guantanamera. But now I live in Mexico, and so I was listening more to the words recently because I speak Spanish now, and because I never understood a lot of the words before, and I started listening to them. I was like, whoa, this is an interesting song. So I looked it up on the internet and I read all the lyrics, and it's about Guantanamo Bay. And I'm like, whoa, this is strange. And it's all about beauty and love and beautiful girls and nice times. And I'm like, wow, that's changed in Guantanamo Bay. So yeah, if you catch me having a few drinks and that song comes on, I might replace it with a few of my own lyrics, which are quite a bit different than the originals.
Cool. I want to know, how did you develop your signature style of the blazer with the unbuttoned button down? When did that come about?
I have no idea. I've just always been that way. The best thing to do is what feels natural, and I've always sort of been that way.
You didn't do that in high school, because you don't wear blazers in high school.
No, it wasn't in high school. Although I did sort of start to wear suits at the end of high school, yeah.
Seriously?
I went to, even in grade 8, this is like 1980.
You were like Mr. Private School, weren't you?
No, oh no, man. We were broke up in northern Canada. I actually bought an all-white suit because this was around the time of Miami Vice. And I was in grade 8, and I'd go to school wearing this suit.
You roll up the sleeves?
Yeah, roll up the sleeves with the sandals and everything, and it's like -10 outside. And then I'd go to the horse race track, and I'd make money at the track. And actually, most of the time in school, I'd spend just looking up the horse race reports and reading up and listening to the reports over my Walkman in the back of the classroom. So yeah, I've always been a little bit different.
Dollar vigilantes are born.
But anyway, we're here to talk to you. If you want to ask me questions more, maybe we should have. I should go on your program. People are here more to hear more about you.
What do you want to know?
We can freestyle it. Oh, I don't know. You sound like you got a bunch of stuff on your head. So
I do a million things. I'll tell you one of the coolest things I'm doing right now that I'm really excited about is my website, derrickj.me. It's my name, derrickj.me. I was having a problem where I was doing too many things. I was doing too many shows, too many projects, and I needed to compile these into one place that made sense. And so I've tagged all the different shows that I do and put them all there. So just a sample of what you might find. Some of the shows that I do, I host Peace News Now on Sundays. It's a live video call-in show about peaceful resistance around the globe. Then Sunday nights, I host a show called Freedom Fiends, which is a radio show that I consider to be the radio show that would exist in libertarian paradise. We don't talk about tyranny issues, we're past that, and we want to talk about our cats and bacon and stuff. Mondays I host Free Talk Live, which is a nationally syndicated radio show focused on bringing more listeners to the idea of liberty. It's sort of a liberty kindergarten, if you haven't. It's still enjoyable for those of us who have been in the game for a while, but it is always seeking to reach that new listener. And then Tuesdays, I take calls on Peace News. Wednesdays, I host a show that I've just been doing for half a year now. It's called Bitcoin Talk. And I based it off of bitcointalk.org because, that's where all of this decentralized discussion was happening in these forums. And, or maybe it's centralized because it's happening in a forum. But it was open to anyone to have a conversation or to share their idea. And I was like, this is amazing. It is so cool. But I can't wrap my head around a forum. They are too boring and I'm not going to spend time there. So I thought, I do call-in shows all the time. Why don't I just make a call-in show for Bitcoin Talk? People can call in, share whatever idea they've got, be on screen, be audio, it would be live. It's, call in. It's a lot more engaging that way. And it's been so satisfying. We've had callers from India and Denmark and people all over the world who are working on these exciting Bitcoin projects. And, we're all connected now because of the internet. It's really fun. And then to wrap it up, on Wednesday nights, I host Cop Block Radio, another live call-in show and podcast focusing on police accountability. And then throughout the week, I do guest appearances on other shows, for example, the Bitcoin Group or Anarchast.
That's awesome. Sounds like you keep busy. I just interviewed Ian Freeman. Sounds like he keeps incredibly busy as well. It's sort of funny for me because I talk to a lot of anarchists that are younger and they're like, well, I don't know what to do. It's like, wow, there's so much to do. I don't understand.
I don't understand that either. They must not have dreams. I mean, there's a lot to be done if you can dream big.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're doing a ton of them, and a really great story about how you've sort of developed, because I know when you first went to New Hampshire, you didn't really do a lot of the stuff that you're doing now. So you've kind of, you went and you put yourself into a situation, which I always think is a good idea. Just, a lot of people are always like, I don't know what it'll be like. I don't know what it'll be like. There's no way you will know what it's going to be like until you just do it. No matter how many people tell you what it'll be like, it's not going to be how they describe, because they're not you, and only you can actually discover what it is like. And so many people just don't do it. They'll always say things like, well, I just don't have enough money, or I'm not sure, it sounds kind of like, what if this happens? Just go do it, and you'll figure it out for the most part. And if you don't, you'll learn a lot by doing that, and the next time you do it, you'll be a lot better at it. And so you went to New Hampshire, you didn't really have any sort of plans, and you've been just getting so much more involved now in everything you're doing. And now you're incredibly busy on radio shows, documentaries, everything. It's great.
Yeah, it has been amazing. So that's really been my goal, is to live as free as I can. And if I'm doing that well, then other people will see it and they'll say, that's attractive, I want to do that. So I'm living free the best that I can. It does have its complications. Like I was thinking about this before our interview, that as a person who pursues freedom, there's like sort of a duality to life and to all things. And so if I'm so free in all of these ways, I also face the consequences of like serious jail time and obstacles with legal defense and that sort of stuff. So like while I strive for peace and freedom, I still have to endure violence and slavery. Sort of a hard lesson.
Yeah, and that's life, especially in the U.S. The U.S. is just really bad. I show a lot of my Mexican friends, videos from like Cop Block and things like that, and they're like, where is that? And I'll say, that's the U.S. They're like, oh my God, why would anyone go there? And I'm like, I don't know, it's pretty crazy up there. The cops are out of control. But it's sort of funny because a lot of people think Mexico is really dangerous. And just like anywhere, there is areas, and if you get into the wrong sort of groups or you do certain things in certain areas, you can have problems, same as almost anywhere in the world. But it's funny that a lot of people think it's so dangerous down here, whereas a lot of the stuff I see on Cop Block, and I love their stuff, by the way. Cop Block is amazing. All the stuff that they do, it's just quite shocking to most people from around the world. I haven't been to too many places. I'm trying to think of any place that has a bigger police state than the U.S. I'm trying to think of one. I've never been to North Korea. I've never been to Belarus. I heard they're both pretty bad, but no, the U.S., nothing comes close to the U.S. police state right now. So it's amazing that you guys are standing up to them so much and getting some good results too, which is great. Yeah,
I would agree. And I want to talk about that point for a minute because, like, as a person who's pursuing freedom, I've got a map of the world behind me. Of course, I've considered leaving and going other places and escaping. But, and I probably will do that to some capacity. I vacation, I go other places, I clear my mind and stuff. But I don't endorse the idea of just leaving. Like, probably my ancestors left Europe during World War II, and they just, left. You live to fight another day and raise your family, have whatever good life you can. But I am not for that solution, because I'm seeing what I perceive to be sort of a critical moment where people need to either say I'm for freedom or I'm for slavery, and running from the problem won't make it go away. So I'm here to confront it, and I'm here to confront it in the place where I think strategically does the most good. Like if I'm going to face this huge dragon or leviathan, like I'm not going to hang out over by its feet where I'm going to get stomped in D.C. I'm going to be over by its eyes and swiping with a sword, trying to blind it or something. And so New Hampshire is really one of those places where strategically it makes a lot of sense to focus. There are 1,600 people who have moved to New Hampshire already as part of the Free State Project. All of them are early movers, meaning, the project hasn't even started yet, and we're already here getting active. So to those listeners of yours who are out there saying, gosh, I want freedom, and they're looking to move to other countries, one option that you might consider first is checking out New Hampshire and seeing what the freedom community is like here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If I was going, I'm not even from the U.S. originally. I'm from Canada. Not that it matters. It's all just, we're all human beings, but I'm not a U.S. citizen. And so if I had to live in the U.S., that would definitely be one of my considerations, would be New Hampshire. It'd just be so nice to be around like-minded people, people who understand. I was watching one of Chris Cantwell's podcasts where he got a call during the podcast on his walkie-talkie thing that he's always got on, and he ran off to go help someone. Yeah. We've
always got them.
Yeah, awesome.
It's the best way to stay in contact with other activists. If something's going down, you can make a call right away. The whole town of activists is going to hear you and be able to respond. I was just at a McDonald's last night and I saw cops tasing some kid in a parking lot. I pull over, pull out my camera, pull out my two-way, message over, and we got Josie the Outlaw was on the scene within 2 minutes. So it's a unique place here in New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's really cool. I hope you're going to be filming more video of all these kind of things, because that's really cool kind of stuff that you guys are doing.
Yeah, just because Victimless Crime Spree is over doesn't mean I have stopped recording. I've got several YouTube channels that, of course, are linked to from derrickj.me.
Great. Yeah, it's really cool stuff, and I really like it. Yeah, as far as people moving outside of the country, it's always a personal decision, personal choice. For me personally, I was born and raised in Canada, and I lived there till I was like 23, and northern Canada for a lot of it, and it was like minus 40 most of the time, and I just wanted out of there. I moved to Vancouver, but then I wasn't really feeling that too much, and I just looked at the world, and I said, there's a big world out there. So I went on a 10-year, 100-country trip, and really that's what really made me discover a lot of things, was just seeing how different countries are and how different police forces are and how different things work and how anarchy works in many ways in so many different places and how different styles of it. And so I've sort of lived that way, and I just don't want to live in Canada anymore, the taxes and all that kind of stuff. So I just live what's called a permanent tourist or perpetual traveler or prior taxpayer sort of lifestyle where I don't really live anywhere. It's really good. And I spent a lot of time here in Mexico and Acapulco. And I'm going to be having an Acapulco February 27th to March 1st. If you didn't know, it's going to be a lot of anarchists on the beach here. And so if you guys feel like getting away from winter for a bit, anyone up there is welcome to come down. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, it's a good point they bring up about running. I never considered it running. I just felt like it wasn't my kind of place. I really found that Mexico, for one, is really it just vibes with me perfectly. I just never have problems here. It's one of those kind of places that just works with the person. So it's for that reason. It's not like I'm running from Canada. I'm just, I prefer to live here right now, but I totally support anyone and doing anything freedom related, and that's why I'm a big supporter of yours and everybody up there in the Free State, and I try to make it up for every Pork Fest whenever I can. So yeah, really cool stuff. If you have some things to finish up on, I'm sure you could talk for a while, but yeah, go ahead.
I'll close on this, that you could travel the world, or you could move to New Hampshire, you could go anywhere you want, but whether you're in a jail cell or in libertarian paradise, you can have freedom in your head. And essentially the whole world is in your head anyway, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good point. My wife's actually she's a very connected sort of, she's one of those people, I call her Legolas. She just seems to know what's going on. She kind of senses everything. She's very, wise. I don't know what it is about her, but she always tells me that she's like, it doesn't matter what the outside world is like. It doesn't matter what people do to you, even if they throw you in jail. You don't have to let that hurt you. You don't have to let them. You always stand proud and never back back down from what you believe is right, you know, and I think that's really strong and powerful. I've never actually been in jail. I was in jail once for a few hours in St. Kitts, and I escaped twice and then got a presidential pardon. But I always wondered how I would react if I was in your guys' situation in jail for a while. I see that Adam wrote a book. Maybe that's what I would do. I'm not sure. What did you do while you were in jail?
I blogged. That was one of the cool things about being in jail in Keene, is that I was able to just mail letters to my friends here at home, and they would blog for me at my website and at freekeene.com. So actually, all of my jail blogs are still online, of course, at derrickj.me. And if you just go to blog, you can see there's a little link there that says blogs from jail. And so, you know, I was able to write about my opportunities working inside the kitchen, guys who I had attractions to, I was trying to get into the same cell with, all different kinds of adventures in jail.
Yeah, it's interesting. That'd be easier for you than me, I think, because I'm more interested in women, so I'd be a little less opportunity. Although here in Mexico, here's the cool thing. This is another reason why I live in Mexico. In Mexico, if you go to a jail, for example, the Acapulco jail is hilarious. You can have whatever you want. If you have money, you can just you can have a flat screen TV, a bed. You can have girls in there, drinks, drugs, whatever you want, as long as you can pay for it. It's
meaningless.
Is it totally? Yeah, it's actually. Like, my life wouldn't change hardly at all, like being in jail in Acapulco. They'd probably let me set up this studio. Actually, maybe I should just try to get put in jail just to do it. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, why not? That would be a one-of-a-kind podcast. Really cool. Well, yeah. What else you got? I'm happy to close on that, or just I have one more thing I should mention, that the Keene police have continued to come after me. I applied for a concealed carry license and was denied based on my previous arrests and everything. They consider me not a suitable person, even though it's a shall issue state. So I'm taking them to court. I've already gone to one day of hearings. There will be more later this month, and if people want to follow that, of course, derrickj.me, or also there's a fundraiser at gofundme.com/gunrights. This is not just about me. This is about, you know, a person's right to civilly disobey, to peacefully protest, and then not have their Second Amendment taken away, or their right to defend themselves.
That's great. We'll try to put all those links down below, and definitely check out his Derrick J's Victimless Crime Spree. Is really well done. And check out his blog. Check out all the radio shows he's on. He's busy and really interesting guy. I really have been enjoying ever since I saw his documentary and now getting the chance to talk to him. He's a great personality. I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot more from him. So I'd like to thank Derrick for being on, and this has been Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.
This is Anarchast.